Hello again, Ray, Steve, Nate, and Jordan. Real quick, I wanted to show you the value of domain profiling. I know that Steve wasn't quite sure of its place, but I've added it to the solution nonetheless, and would like to have you take a quick look at it. We're going to look at it in the browser. Obviously, it's a cube. Obviously, it would end up living in Prism, but here's the issue. So now, unlike column profiling where we're looking at minimums and maximums, now we're looking at the relationships of tables in source that we're trying to bring together, and we're also looking at their patterns and rules. So one of the basic things we can do is, for instance, let's say we wanted to take a look at and see what was going on in the columns for a customer database. First, we've got a selection of tables here, table name. So we can bring that up here and drop that in. And we can limit that selection to our source table, which was our little ABI table here. And let me get rid of this previous filter that I had in here. We will let that go. Okay. Next, we've got some counts. We've got a domain count here. We'll drag over our domain count. And now let's take a look and see what's going on in the column. We've got a little hierarchy here called domain column pattern. So we're going to bring that over. Now in domain column pattern, what we can do is we can take a look inside of a column, let's say state for instance, and we can say before we start doing any development in Prism and discussing this with the client that, well, question mark is Prism's representation of a blank. We've got 7 blanks for state, and then we've got other states and we know their domain counts. We could also take a look at, say, phone number. For instance, what do we need to do with it? Well, we've got 2 patterns here. We've got phone numbers that just have numbers in them. There are not enough numbers here. And then we've got phone numbers that have actually got periods in them. Same thing for, say, zip code. Quickly, we can take a look and say, well, what's going on? So that's one way to use domain analysis to validate data with a user and take a step towards data governance. Again, this is all part of that MetadataMart approach. But there's another interesting thing you can do. If indeed we're interested, we've got tables up here. If we're also interested in, well, you know, let's take a particular column here, say state, for instance, or zip code. Let's get rid of this hierarchy. And let's say, well, we wanted to see how particular values were related in tables across columns. What we can do is first we can pick this field up called domain value, which happens to be all the values that live in a column. Say here, we can then limit that column name domain here. We're limiting that to, let's say, one particular value. We'll limit that to state. So now we've just got state codes here. And then if we wanted to say, well, how does that go across tables? We can actually bring that up here. Now there are a lot of issues and tuning issues depending on the volume here. And in this case, these are the same. However, with the power of HaloSource and Prism as I see it, and I know this is a little off base for Monday, Steve, but you have quite a capability here for collaboration and agile and the use of some of the data profiling capabilities. These tables here to mention, as I mentioned in the first video, were built by a couple of SQL scripts that I have well documented on many sites. I do believe with a modicum of effort that could be incorporated as a permanent part of Halo. A minimum cost actually and a tremendous value add, especially in terms of getting users involved. Another point I'd add is when you do a POC and the first thing you do is do some data profiling and you're having a user able to look at their data, especially through Prism, you're actually getting a lot of the value add up front without having to go through the demo or having the onerous discussions about what kind of sales hierarchies that they have or what's the problem with their inventory management. So lastly, just to take a quick look back inside of Prism, to add those guys in, all I did was obviously hit the wrong button here. Hang on. Okay. I came into Prism, added in the second domain profiling table that was in there. Actually, I'm clicking on the wrong one, so we're not doing too good here. Demonstrating my Prism expertise. Well, that's because I didn't hit apply, so I have so much to learn. Let's cancel that out. We'll say no. Going back into Prism one last time. Sorry about that. What I did was add in a Prism domain. There's our queue. We add same data connection. We added in a package for domain pattern OLAP. We added a domain-specific dimension with a few hierarchies, and then of course we added a domain-specific queue. That's really it. Please take a look. I certainly think all of this can be ready and be very effective in the demo for IEHP. But you guys let me know, and I'm certainly willing to do whatever I need to do to help Jordan get it set up and running. Normally this kind of stuff should only take half an hour or an hour to get it all set up and going. Let me know.